Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer, and welcome back to our Tour de France discussion. Today was stage number 16. Mountain stage, at least on paper, didn't look so much in person. 164 kilometers. There was a category 4 at the very, very early point of that stage, and then from there it went on to. Come on now. There they go. On to two category 2s, a category 1, the climb of the day, and then a category 3 to the finish. What we ended up with on this one was a large break, seeing the potential for a win today. And so that early category 4, there was a large break that had been forming. Nance Peters was in that bunch, teammate to Cosnefroid, and not far behind him. He's going to go over the top first. It's only a single point there. He goes from 31 to 32 points, putting him 4 behind Cosnefroid. Cosnefroid tried to get into the break at some point, could not do it. Really struggled, as he has the whole last week. Break was too large, though. Field pulled it back, and then new groups were starting to form from there. New attacks, more chasing. So pretty hefty pace early on in this one. Eventually, we get to the intermediate sprint. Now, Sagan had eyes for it, but sure, why not? The Bora Hansgrohe had eyes on it. Sagan certainly interested, but the attacks were too big, too heavy, too many riders. And we end up with a scenario where there was 15 riders in the front group. So all the points went to those 15 riders at the intermediate sprint. Unfortunately for both Bennett and Sagan, Trentin had made it into that group. Let's just quick resolve this one. Trentin claims all 20 points. He is now 60 behind Bennett, 15 behind Sagan. So it's definitely getting closer, as he has now gotten over 200 points. The breakaway, there were 3 groups, 15 in the front, 24 overall. Only a handful of riders that had points in the KOM, as that became the big focus of the day. And none of those riders were in that front group of 15. But as they approached the first larger climb of the day, category 2, with a very, very long uphill section before the beginning of that category 2 climb, it really felt a lot more like a category 1. But there was a few hundred meters right in the middle of that climb that flattened out, and for some crazy reason, that was enough. That was enough for the race organizers to classify it as a category 2 instead of a category 1. They took those few hundred meters of flat and said, we're not going to count that hill before the climb, even though it was as steep and as long. I thought it should have been a category 1, but it was early enough in the stage. I can see why. I suppose that they did a category 2. By this point, the middle group had made their way to the front group, and Pierre Rolland was among those. He, along with Nick Roche, are going to go clear at the top. Rolland's going to go over the top first. He was the rider with the most points. He was the rider who clearly was targeting the KOM in today's stage. With those 5 points, he now has 31. Nick Roche picks up 3. That's 14. Leonard Comno is in the group. He picked up 2. That's 15 for him. And by this point, essentially halfway through the stage, the gap to the peloton had grown massively to 10 minutes, making it quite clear that today was going to be a day for the breakaway. Let's go ahead and analyze. So 9 days away from computers. Okay. Ah, you're doing that to me on purpose. We just finished the tutorial at this point in game, so let's try to... Okay, release cause or free agents. Let's go. Okay, only 2 free agents, but there is a 60. Jacqueline Smith. Oh, that's not high. But whatever. We're just playing here. Alright, analyze rival ongoing. Back to this. Roland went over the top. Roche, Kamna, and again, 10-minute gap, meaning the break was definitely going to claim it. They had a long descent before hitting the second Category 2 climb. And finally, the 3 groups all came together at the base of this one. But again, Roland attacks early on, pulls away, and is going to open up what they needed. Come on. There you go. I don't care. You're on fire and injured. That sucks. Do I have our sub? No, they're the ones I'm negotiating with, but I haven't heard anything, so apparently that's just something that happens behind the scenes. Okay, tactics. Where we need them. Getting a really bad lag here. Why is it worked just fine before? Now it doesn't want to work. Anyway. Roland went early, picks up the 5 points. That gives him 36. Now, if you remember, that's exactly what Cosnefroid has. 36 points. Ooh, somebody at the door. There you go. Limited time to negotiate a signing. Short if player finds your offer offensive. Players send their proposal to sign for your team. This is their ideal offer. Okay. These are the starting conditions for you to evaluate and negotiate. Keep in mind their salary, clause, age, and team role. If you promise a player a role that you don't plan on following up, the relationship would be bad if it can go rogue any time. Okay. I accept. Sweet. Okay. Update the lineup. Get a starter spot for the newcomer. Come on now. Da-da. So much going on. So let's... Can I do this? All right, back to this. How's our training going? Level 3. Yeah, we'll be fine. No hype this time. Okay, come on. There you go. Onto the hype train. Back to this. Roland matching points with Cosnefroid at 36. Geshka went over second, now has 21. Pache has 22 after going over third. A little bit of a gap, but then we get to the big climb of the day. It's category 1, 11 kilometers, 6% average gradient. Pache attacks prior to the climb, opens up a 30-second gap. Early on the climb, pushing hard, gets that out to a 45-second gap. But today was to be Ineos's day. Why? Well, if you hadn't noticed, they have struggled. Bernal, the injury to his back at the Dauphiné, worse than it had appeared. He really struggled. He's been hiding it all tour. Hasn't looked on top of his game. Went from just hanging on that first week and a half to really, really struggling right before the rest day, losing a ton of time. And with that, opening Ineos to a new strategy, which is winning stages. Carapaz, who lost a bunch of time early on and got out of contention, had to focus on supporting Bernal. Himself has lost a bunch of time here and there. Well, he got himself into the break and 2 teammates. So they take over. They start chasing. They're going to catch Pache pretty quick. They're setting up Carapaz for the stage. But halfway through that climb, it's Reichenbach, Alaphilippe, Leonard Kamna, and Carapaz who are going to go clear of the rest of the breakaway. They're going to catch Pache pretty quick. They're going to drop Pache before long. And within a little bit, the strongest go clear. Today, that's Carapaz and Leonard Kamna of Bora Hansgrohe. Let's just go ahead and resolve this. Cannot watch closely enough to know what's going on with it. It's actually Leonard Kamna right before the peak who looked like he might be interested in the KOM points and attacks. He picks up 10 points. That puts him at 25. Carapaz picks up 8. He's now on 11. Reichenbach. And then Pierre Roland. No points this time. He put too much effort into those first climbs. He's going to just miss on the points on this Category 1 climb. So he does not go clear of Cosnefroid. The count back is going to give the jersey still to Cosnefroid for now. Roland, though, on same points. You can pretty much guarantee he'll take that away tomorrow because he is very interested in it. And Cosnefroid has proven that he cannot defend that jersey any further than what he did in the first week. It's been a long time since he scored. I think he is unlikely to score any more points. Peloton, going up that climb, it was clear that they were just cruising. They took today as a rest day. The non-climbers were dropped, but nobody else was. They set the victory up for the breakaway. 20K to go from the top of that climb. On the descent, Kamna continues to attack, actually opens up a little bit of a gap that he's going to hang on to heading to the final climb. The final climb's Category 3. It's only 2.2 kilometers in length, so very short, not terribly steep. Kind of an interesting way to call this a mountain stage when it really wasn't, but B, to have such a weak finish. Why not finish at the top of the Category 1 and at least have a contest, have something out of that's going to make the stage interesting. certainly wasn't set up to be for punchers either. So I don't know who they're trying to favor on a stage like this, but it seemed like this was a stage designed for the Breakaway, as that was the only ones who really could do something along those lines. So okay, Hero. I don't have time for this. Do your thing. I don't care. Can I skip this? All right, so as they hit that final climb, Kamna had a minute 10 gap ahead of Carapaz. He had really opened it up. Carapaz really just not giving it his all. He did not dig deep on this one at all. I don't know why he just allowed Kamna to ride away from him the way he did and never really put a serious effort into chasing him. Reichenbach, you could tell, had dug deep, and Reichenbach was doing what Reichenbach can do. And that was going to be that. I mean, that was all there was to it. But Carapaz never dug deep, and so neither did Kamna. He had a gap, and it was easy. Reichenbach was a minute 36 behind, so Carapaz did enough to stay ahead of him, but Kamna comfortably takes a win, just cruises to that finish. Carapaz takes second, Reichenbach takes third. Kamna now on 27 points, Carapaz at 12. The big news, of course, is that Roland has equaled points with Cosnefroid, that Trentin has closed down and might even go as far as second place unless Sagan does something in the stages to come. And the GC, there was nothing doing. They cruised right to that final climb. At the final climb, we still had a very large group. However, a lot of riders just kind of backed off and let it be. Didn't seem too concerned about finishing with the front riders, so they backed up and just rode to the finish, leaving us with a group of about 20. Jumbo-Visma had 4 or 5 riders left, but again, most of them just sat up, and so Wout van Aert led out Primoz Roglic and led out the GC riders. He set a fast tempo, and so we were kind of set up for that was going to be that. He set it fast enough that it prevented most attacks until the final handful of meters, final few hundred meters, where we saw first Pogačar saw it wasn't going to go anywhere, that the guys were way too fresh. They hadn't been riding hard at all on the day, especially up that category 1. And so he instantly just kind of sat up, Roglic comfortably on his wheel, as was everyone else. Lopez tried the desperate attack. I'm going to try to gain a few seconds. And then they just sped up, stayed close behind, and that was it. That was all there was to it. So what we ended up with was no time gained. Lopez had a couple bike lengths. So there was a couple bike lengths here and there. I mean, they sprinted across the line. But none of those gaps were enough to actually count. So they all ended up on the same time. Nothing doing on GC. The big news, the only news, is that Roland is now equal with Cosnefroid and will take that jersey away, I'm assuming, tomorrow. That's going to do it for this review special. Do hit that like button and do comment below if you noticed anything more. Really was kind of the most boring day of the tour so far, as they kind of just cruised along. The only excitement was in the efforts of Pierre Roland. I'm Decathlon Gamer. I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Quick update on that CPU. It's in the mail. It's on the way. I'm guessing about 2 days, maybe 3. So normalcy will resume soon. I'll definitely finish this series out, even though I'm doing this for a rather small audience. But hey, it's not like I'm not going to watch the tour the rest of the way, so might as well finish what I've started. But of course, I'll be back on my PC hopefully